Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Sound Mind. On this channel I will be talking to you about mental health and mental well-being. On this channel I will be giving encouragement, advice and education on mental health and mental well-being. If you've not seen me here, my name is Pam. Hello. I am a registered mental health nurse and I have been practicing for about 15 years now. I am a wife, I am a mom of two beautiful girls, and I love Jesus. I will be talking to you guys about mental health, mental illness, mental well-being through the Christian faith. So before we get into today's video, I just want to remind you guys to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get reminders of when the next video is coming up. And yeah, let's get into it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about basics. I'm going to be talking to you about what mental health is, what mental well-being is, and I will also touch on mental illness, what mental illness is, what it means to have a mental illness. So first things first, what is mental health? Is a state of well-being. It is where an individual recognizes, what they can cope with in their day-to-day lives. It is where an individual is able to cope with the daily normal stresses of life. They are able to fit into the community and live a relatively comfortable life and are able to cope with what comes their way on a day-to-day basis. On the flip side of that, we then get mental illness. So what is mental illness? I suppose you already can guess what mental illness is. It is a state in which an individual can no longer cope with their day-to-day stresses in life. They're unable to cope with whatever the challenges that are coming their way. They are struggling to do so, and therefore they need either, therapy or medication to help them along. So that's just the basics. I will talk to you about, from a Christian faith, what it means to have good mental health. And it ties into, why I've called my channel A Sound Mind, because when we look at it from a Christian perspective, it talks about having a sound mind. And if we look at 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, it reads, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And sound mind, in the context of the word of God, speaks of self-control, discipline, and a focus on truth and well-being, rather than fear, anxiety, or harmful thoughts. So already we see here that, for you to have good mental health or a sound mind, you need to have self-control, you need to have discipline, and you need to have focus on truth. So when we look at focus on truth, it's also being truth to yourself, truth to how you're feeling, truth to what is going on around you in your life and in the lives of those around you. So discipline as well, it's all about coping. Are you able to cope? Are you able to remain disciplined in whatever it is that you're going through? Because as soon as we lack discipline in our day-to-day life, then we no longer have a sound mind. We no longer have good mental health or good mental well-being. We're no longer disciplined. We are no longer in control of what is going on in our lives and around us. And I find it very interesting that, the definition that we are given, the World Health Organization, for example, which is where I got my definition from, and the definition that we are given from, the word of God, they literally are similar. They tie in hand to hand. they are so similar. They both talk about mental well-being. What it is, it's basically being in control of yourself and being in control of your environment and being in control of what's going on around you. So again, I did say I would touch on what a mental illness is, and the definition of a sound mind gave us that. It said, sound mind in the context of the Word of God speaks of self-control, discipline, and a focus on truth and mental well-being, rather than fear, anxiety, or harmful thoughts. And that is what mental illness is. Anxiety. We know people get diagnosis of anxiety disorder, harmful thoughts. So when we speak of harmful thoughts, we are talking about, self-harming, suicidality, just negative thoughts. You are constantly thinking negative. It also speaks of fear, and fear ties in hand with anxiety. As soon as you have fear, you are anxious. You become anxious because, it is normal. If you are fearful of something, you're going to be anxious. You're going to be constantly watching out, waiting for something negative to happen because you are in fear of whatever it is that you're expectant of. Sound mind or good mental health involves having a clear, balanced, and sensitive perspective guided by wisdom and good judgment. I like that very much. So let's break this down a little bit. So it goes on to explain even further what a sound mind is, what good mental health is. It is having a clear, a balanced, and sensitive perspective of things. So therefore, if you are mentally ill, for example, you are not going to have a clear mind. You're not going to have a balanced or sensitive perspective of things. And I think it's very important as individuals for us to have a clear mind. I mean, these days we are all talking about, good health, everyone's on this thing of taking vitamins, of exercise, going to the gym, taking walks, because we want a clear mind. When you go out, when you take a walk, when you go out in the morning or in the evening and you take a walk, we do it because we want a clear mind. It's a good way of going out there and clearing your mind, thinking things through, because you're out there, you're out in nature. It helps give you a clear mind, a sound mind. You need to have a balanced perspective of things. So, it is very important as individuals that we put this in practice in our day-to-day lives. I personally feel that it is very important for individuals to find something, an activity, anything that helps them to clear their mind. We all go to work, most of us go to work, or we have things going on in our lives. Some of us are stay-at-home parents, but that could even be worse than individuals who are going to their 9 to 5 jobs or whatever job you're going to, because you're constantly at home with the baby or with the kids. You are cleaning, it's non-stop. Those of us who are going to work, we go to work, we face challenges at work. We're probably working with people that we don't necessarily like, but things happen at work. So we have to create a time, our day, where we clear our mind, where we have that time to ourselves to just clear our mind and just concentrate on supporting our brains to just take a break from everything that is going on around us. It is very important to do that. So, if you like swimming, go out, have a swim. If you like going to the gym, that is a very good way. I mean, I normally encourage my patients especially those who are struggling with anger, feelings of anger, especially those who've gone through trauma. It is very important to find something where you can take that anger out on in a healthy way. And I always talk about the gym. Kickboxing is a good way of, letting all that anger out. So go out, find something that you enjoy doing. If it's swimming, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're exercising, you're keeping your body fit, and at the same time, you're also helping your mind. You are bringing clarity, you're clearing everything that's happened throughout the day, and you're exercising at the same time. Take a walk. Walking is very good. Walking is being prescribed now for many different conditions, diabetes, mental health, whatever it is, because you are helping your body and you're helping your mind at the same time. So it's very important to take time out, find something that you enjoy doing that will help you to gain some clarity, to clear things out in your mind. So I want us to also look at, I've made some notes here, so I'm just looking over at my notes just to remind me what I'm talking about today. Let's look at what mental health and mental well-being is, away from the biblical terms of it, because I've been talking a lot about a sound mind, which is how the Bible describes mental health. But let's look at, look away from that a minute. Mental health is not just the absence of a mental illness, but a positive state of mind and body. So here we see that it also ties in with what I've just been talking about. For you to have a healthy mind, you also need a healthy body, and vice versa. For you to have a healthy body, you also need to have a healthy mind. Your way of thinking needs to change. And I know some of you will be familiar with CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which we use a lot in mental health and, in psychology. It's, changing the way an individual thinks, changing your thinking. Yeah, so it's all tied in. The body and the mind is tied in. It works hand in hand. And just moving along again to biblical terms as well, the Bible also talks about things like, bring something about your body and your mind needs to be in right standing with God. It doesn't say your body needs to be in right standing with God, and it doesn't say your mind only needs to be in right standing with God. It works together. They work, side by side, your body and your mind. And even scientifically, it's the same thing. For your body to be healthy, your mind needs to be well. For your mind to be well, your body needs to be well. Also, mental health encompasses emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So mental health affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. I think we would all agree that, let's take anger, for example. If someone comes to you and does something that will make you angry, it will affect how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Let's just say you are sitting in the pub on a Saturday afternoon, with whoever you're with, and someone comes up to you and, chucks a glass of beer or wine, whatever it is, in your face from nowhere. It's definitely going to affect how you think, how you feel, and how you act. So let's break this down. How you think. So, without getting into too much detail, some feelings of paranoia are going to come in. You're probably going to think, why in the world has this individual picked me out of everyone in the pub to chuck this glass of beer at me? What is it about me that made him spill this glass of wine in my face? Is it because, things like race are going to come into it? Is it because of my race? Is it because I'm short? Is it because I'm tall? Is it because of this? Whatever it is, it's going to affect how you think. Right, let's move on to how you feel. How is it going to make you feel? It's going to make you feel somehow, one way or the other. It's going to make you feel a certain way. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel emotional. Some people cry, some people show anger. You're probably going to get aggressive. You're going to clench your fists. You're going to probably stand up and start getting aggressive towards the person. So it's going to affect how you feel. How you act is definitely going to affect how you act. And people are different. How you act is different. How I act in a situation like that is different from how my husband is going to act, how my friend is going to act, because we are all different. We handle things differently. Maybe I'm just going to sit there and blame myself. It's possible. Someone with a low self-esteem is probably going to sit there and blame themselves and probably think maybe it's because I'm dressed like this, or maybe it's because I look like this. Someone else is going to probably stand up and punch the person in the face because they're aggressive. They're an aggressive person. That's the first thing that comes to their mind. So it's definitely different situations. We're all going to act differently. We're all going to respond differently. And it's all to do with our mental health. It's all going to be, from a place of where our mental health is at that particular time. If I am very happy and, I'm very, like, oh, someone's going to probably think, well, maybe they tripped and they spilled their drink on me by accident. Oh, never mind. I'm probably going to laugh it off. We all act differently, and it all depends on how we're feeling and what type of mental health or mental well-being we're at that particular stage in our lives or at that particular time, whatever the situation has happened in. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not blabbing on, guys. Right, now I'm going to move on to what mental illness is. So what is mental illness? So mental illness is characterized by a clinically significant disturbance in an individual's emotional regulation. So yeah, it's going to be characterized by a clinically significant disturbance in an individual's emotional regulation, cognition, or behavior. Yeah? So that is what mental illness is, a condition that impacts a person's mood, behavior, thinking, or feelings. So we've just spoken about all this. That is what mental illness is, a condition that impacts a person's mood, behavior, thinking, or feelings. It can significantly affect daily life and relationships. And you can understand why it would significantly impact on daily life and relationships. Because look at it this way. I'm just going to pick a condition, a mental health condition, which I will use as an example. I will pick depression. Okay, so depression. There are many forms and stages of depression. You've got, mild depression, of which, if we do not want to lie to ourselves, we've all gone through mild depression in our lives. If you haven't gone through depression, mild depression, I would love to meet you. We all go through phases of mild depression in our lives. Yeah? I'm going to leave that there for a second to marinate. However, there's also clinical depression. Yeah? And when we are talking about, I'm going to use mild and clinical depression. Yeah, the two of them. And when someone is clinically depressed, this is someone who is severely depressed, who probably needs some help. They will need some form of medication. And in fact, they will need, at some point, they will need some therapy. However, when you're absolutely clinically depressed and, you're severely depressed and you're down in the dumps, therapy is not going to work at that point. You are probably going to need medication. You're going to need close observation in probably a hospital setting. So yeah, so let's take those two: clinical depression and mild depression. So I'll start with mild depression. Happens to most of us, all of us probably, and this is where things are not going so well in life. You probably had goals in your life. You probably thought, oh, okay, by age 25 I'm going to be married, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to have a business that a successful business. But come age 25, you're probably not married, you probably don't have the kids, and your business is probably still struggling. And you are probably going to feel some form of depression, some form of low mood, because you haven't achieved that goal. And this is just how, as humans, we are built. We set ourselves goals. Sometimes we meet those goals, but sometimes we don't. And when we don't meet those goals, you feel a certain way. And sometimes that certain way is mild depression. Yeah. And this mild depression, this is the time where you probably need to talk to someone. Yeah. Therapy will probably work at this point, where you go, you see a therapist. I am a big advocate for therapy. Whether things are going well or things are not going so well, I'm a big advocate for it. If you can afford it, why not do it? But yeah, this is a time where you can have therapy. You talk about, I've set these goals. I haven't met my goals, and I'm struggling. I feel low. I feel like I'm a failure. I don't know how to pivot. And this is where you learn how to cope. You then start learning your coping strategies, your coping skills in therapy. Your therapist will teach you different ways to cope. And if all goes well, things start changing in your life, and you start thinking, okay, it doesn't have to be age 25, it can be any age. And the less pressure on you, the better things will probably work out. Because pressure as well is not, it's good to set yourself goals, but don't pressurize yourself too much. You can't be saying, by age this, I have to have achieved this. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So these are just examples. Clinical depression, on the other hand, you haven't dealt with things, on the mild depression point. You didn't deal with it well then. So you kept going lower and lower. You kept burying yourself into whatever was going on. You didn't seek help. You didn't speak to anyone. And, you kept going lower and lower in your mood, and until you reached the point where, things were really bad. That's clinical depression, where you can't even get up in the morning. Everything is dark. You can't even eat. You can't, which is sad. It is a sad place to be. It is a horrible place to be. I have seen patients in that state, and it is very difficult to get out of it, especially without the help. And even with help, it is still very difficult. But we have seen people who have got out of it, even from that state. So, I just want to encourage you guys that there is help out there. There is help. Don't leave things too late. If you're struggling in life, and I know a lot of people are struggling in life, but it's very important to speak to someone, to just speak to someone about what's going on, about how you're feeling. And also be kind to people, be kind. Be that listening ear. If there's someone who has approached you, in this state, be kind. Listen, even if you do not know what to do to help the person, at least seek the help for them if they can't do it themselves. The world is crazy out there now, and everyone is struggling. Just try your best to help the next person to you. I think I'm gonna end it here today. We will probably get into more details. We will look at more conditions, or we will expand on depression. Since we've started with depression today, we will expand more on depression in the next episode. Please, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel. Share this with your friends, with your family. And if you guys have any questions, please, put those questions in the comments down below. I will make sure to answer as many as I can, and it will also give me ideas on what you guys want to hear in the videos to come. So let me know if you want me to discuss a certain topic, and I can think about doing that. Yeah, so yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed today. I hope this has been a good eye-opener and a good start. But yeah, look after yourselves, seek help, and remember there is help out there for you. Okay, take care.